do some work on this. Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about percent proportion. Did I spell proportion right? It's good? Okay. Percent proportion, okay? The percent proportion is, let's just come up with a problem. So we were just taking fractions and we were turning them into percents. So let's say that on a quiz, John got 4 out of 5 correct answers. So what percent did he get correct? Okay, and I heard already some people came up with the answer 80. Well, that's sort of related to what we were just talking about, right? So 4 out of 5, that's this fraction, right? So this is the amount that he got correct, amount. This was 5. If he had gotten 5 out of 5, what percent would he have gotten? 100%. So 5 is the total number, correct? And if we make this equivalent to something out of 100, then we would be finding the percent, because anything out of 100 is a percent. Whenever the denominator is 100, it's a percent. So what number would go in the numerator here? Yeah. Okay, close. It's going to be, remember, we're going to multiply by 20 over 20, and we have 80 over 100. So that means he got 80%. Okay, and the reason why I wanted to do this particular example is because right here, these are equivalent fractions. What's a big fancy word that means two equivalent fractions? Starts with a P, and it's not percent. It's proportion. Proportion is just two equivalent fractions, right? So the percent proportion looks like this. You have the amount over the total. The total always relates to 100, and up here, this is going to be your percent. Percent over 100. Okay, so if I use this proportion, I can set up, I'm always going to be given 2 bits of information, and I have to find the third thing. Okay, so let's show how this might work. If I said 5% of 50 is what number? Okay, I'm going to translate all of the bits of things from this sentence and put it into my proportion. So 5%, that means if I write that as a fraction, that's 5 over 100, correct? 5% is the 5 over 100. Now it's saying 5% of 50. So this of is my total of 50. Is what number? This is the thing I don't know, right? Of what number is X? So 5%, 5 out of 100 is 5%. Of what number? We don't know. We know the total. So 50 is the total, and we want to find out what this amount is. So once we've set up the proportion, we can go back to our solving proportions. After we've set it up, how would we solve it? There's too many 5s in this example, isn't there? A lot of 5s. So to solve for X, remember our cross multiplication? 5 times 50 equals X times 100, right? What's 5 times 50? 250 because I just do 5 times 5 is 25, and then I have to put an extra 0 on the end, equals 100 times x, or either way is fine. Yes, And how do I get x by itself now? Divide by 100. Divide by 100. If I divide by 100, I'm going to move the decimal over to 2.5 equals x. So 5% of 50 is 2.5. Now remember the other day we were talking about mental math, right? I was saying how if you know that 100% is the same thing as 50 because that's your total, what's 10% of 50? Does anybody remember the mental math? Just look at the pattern. We're missing a 0 here, so lose a 0 and you get 5. Now 5% is half of 10, right? What's half of $5? $2.50. Oh, look at that. So that's another way you can kind of think about it mentally. $2.50, you get the same answer here and here. So then we could write a sentence and answer the question. 2.5 is 5% of 50. Is that making sense a little bit? No? Yes? Okay, let's try another one. So let me know when you're ready. I'm going to turn the page, and we're going to write the percent proportion again. Okay? So it's going to be the same thing as whatever amount you have, or the number, the amount, which a lot of times the amount is next to the word is, over the total, or the base, which is next to the word of, equals the percent over 100. So let's try another example, okay? This one says 32 is, you see the word is, 32 is 8% of what number? So first I might look at the percent. 8%. How do I write 8%? What I'm going to do in the percent proportion is I'm going to write the percent as always, the percent is always going to go over what? 100. So 8 goes over what? 100. Okay, I just ask you again. 8 over 100 equals, now I have two more, well, I have one unknown. I've already dealt with the 8%. That's 8 out of 100. 32 is 8% of what number? So now we have to decide, should 32 go in the numerator, and this is our x. We don't know what number, right? Should the 32 go in the numerator or should it go in the denominator? Oh, a resounding numerator. Why would you say the numerator? Why should it go where the 8 is? Yeah, it has the is. A lot of times people will call this is over of. You've heard that before, is over of. It's because they say, you know, 32 is the amount. 32 is the same thing as 8. It corresponds to 8. I want to know what the 100% was of, you know, the of, okay? Now, again, we could cross multiply, but if the numbers are friendly, these are just equivalent fractions. That's all a proportion is an equivalent fraction. So what do I do to 8 to give me 32? Does anybody know? 8 times what gives me 32? 8 times 4. Don't be sorry, that's what I'm asking for. 8 times 4 is 32. So what would x have to be? Be 8 times 4 is 32, or I'll do it this way. Times 4, if I do that to the numerator, I have to do the same things. Remember, I have to multiply by 1 whole. So if I multiply 4 times 8, I get 32. 4 times 100 gives me, oh yeah, 400, sorry. Yes, you're like, why is she writing 100? 4 times 100 is 400, yes. But if you cross multiply, let's just do it the cross multiplication way too. So we'd have 8x equals 32 times 100. What is 32 times 100? 3,200. 3,200. Now we would divide by 8, and we would get, if you divide this, 8 goes into 32 4 times, 8 goes into 0, 0. That's 400. Okay? Okay, let's try another one. So this is another word problem. 20 is what percent of 5? 20 is what percent of 5? Sorry, my percent is messed up. Percent. So I like to identify what the three things are. Here is 20 is what percent of 5? So those are my three separate things. Whatever it's asking me for is my variable x. That's my unknown. So I don't have a percent. So x is the percent. What does the percent always go over? 100. X out of 100 is going to be what percent of? Okay? Equals, and then what order should these go in? 5 over 20 or 20 over 5? That's the hard. 20 over 5, because that's your is over of. And remember, it could be over 100%. Okay? Now again here, once our proportion is set up, you can cross multiply, or if you see that the numbers are friendly and you just could figure out what the equivalent fraction would be. Does anybody know what do I multiply by 5 to give me 100? 20. So I have to multiply by 20 over 20. What's 20 times 20? 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Put on 2 zeros. 400. So 20 is 400%, that's what we just found out, of 5. You see how the answer we get answers that question. Okay? So those are three different setups. Basically, you're always going to have the 100 is always going to be underneath the percent. Okay? And then you have to decide about the numbers. Which one is the amount, which one is the total. Because the amount is the same thing as the percent, and the total corresponds to 100%, right? Okay, any questions so far, or let's have you try these problems. So I'm going to stop.